Good day, everyone, and good day to you, Brian. How are you today?
I'm doing well. We were just before getting started here, just doing a bit of a decompress. I hadn't seen you much today, and well, vice versa.
Yeah,
And
although we're next door to each other.
yes, exactly.
No, well, it's okay. Life in the big city.
Well, it's those days when we're all on the phone doing our own little thing. So yeah,
Anymore, right? It's
yeah,
everybody does not. Nobody meets in person anymore, which
yeah,
is fine.
yeah,
I don't mind the electronics. I'm comfortable with it.
yeah.
So today we are going to start doing Q&A from the get-go as people line up and
And
ask questions.
yeah,
But the topic we were discussing before we get on the air here with our listeners is what about the election and the conversation about the word immigrants
yeah.
was used a lot in the last vice presidential debate.
Yeah, I think I don't maybe a couple of sessions ago, I was talking about, hey everybody, you should watch that vice presidential debate. And I guess from the immigration perspective, for me, is that the striking thing is that how little the average person in the United States knows about immigration. And this is something that I encountered obviously doing consults with U.S. citizens who are trying to help out, like a loved one as well, usually a spouse. It's so many people don't even understand the concept of the permanent resident versus a citizen, let alone working visas, temporary protected statuses, and all sorts of other fun little immigration nuances is out there, let alone what we deal with so much in this venue, like the 10 plus year backlog for people trying to get legal green cards from India, with India as a country of birth. That we talk about whether quote unquote illegal immigration is the hot button immigration issue, or why aren't they talking about employment immigration? But the lack of knowledge about immigration in general in the United States is just profoundly it's non-existent. And I would admit I knew nothing when I first started, doing this job. It was an absolute education. I probably could have not told you what a permanent resident was, or explained the concept, or knew of the concept before I started working. Started working with you,
Right, right.
essentially. And that's I don't know. That's my number one takeaway. I mean, there's talk about temporary protected status during that debate, and to even explain that concept, are people on TPS, are they immigrants? Are they illegal? You know, well, they're not immigrants because they don't have a path to immigration, but are they legally present? Yes. It's just there's just so many layers to it in my mind that it's a fascinating thing. That we're a country of immigrants, but maybe we've all just been here so long that we don't really understand the concepts, what they really mean anymore.
Yeah. So I mean, clearly he came out making the statement that immigrants who come across the border are buying houses as if they're coming with money.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't get it.
Well,
It's just, I don't get it.
I mean, it's always, in politics, it's in everything. There's the concept of the other. It's the person who's unlike you. They are your enemy, and thereby, I'm the only person who can help you with this. But it's not just immigrants. It's pick another thing that divides and defines people, and it can be your linchpin for your political success. It's blame your problems on a group of other is the bottom line there. There was a very big popular soundbite from the debate was JD Vance saying illegal Haitians in Springfield, Ohio, not too far from here. If nobody's familiar with the geography of our state, maybe about an hour from us, Springfield. The idea of people, are you illegal? Well, TPS is a complex concept in and of itself, temporary protected status, but those people are allowed to work in the United States, for example. Um, again, I think, but I mean, I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that you can enter the United States without authorization, and somebody can give you temporary protected status and allow you to stay here and not deport you and get a work authorization. Yeah, but when you think about a concept like that, also that's rooted in a humanitarian concern. It's we're not going to send you back to your home country because the conditions are problematic there. I mean, what countries are on the list? There's Haiti, Syria, a whole bunch of other countries on that list, and it seems very, very American to take a moral high ground and say we're not going to send people to places where it's dangerous to live.
How can he say immigrants causing the housing crisis when his wife's parents are immigrants?
Um,
They came in the 1970s to the United States.
you know,
They're highly educated. His wife, I think her name is Usha
mhm,
Vance.
yeah.
Parents from India, highly educated. Um, and then he can stand behind the podium and offend all his in-laws. No problem. To what end?
I don't.
Um,
Well, I haven't heard him. I mean, I actually have heard him talk about the subject of employment-based or legal immigration a little bit. But I mean, I remember we had a sound bite live during this maybe 2 months back. It's him. I think there's a lot of people on in the political sphere who say, if you're going to come to the United States, you should do it, legally, right? And he was out there. Remember attacking H-1B visas again
but he
because
didn't make the distinction. When he said immigrants are causing the housing crisis,
yeah,
he did not say illegal immigrants because illegal immigrants come into the U.S. broke,
yeah,
and it takes them decades to even have enough time to
achieve parity
afford
with some, yeah,
an apartment with 2 rooms and 2 bathrooms.
yeah,
They live together and they live underground, and then they're not legal and they move around. So these people are not a housing purchasing group. So what immigrants is he talking about?
well, I'm not gonna agree with it, but I'm gonna offer the concept of the affluent legal immigrant. Then it's it's somebody who's here with a
They're causing the housing problem.
yeah. It's then again, I mean, well, the affluent, but again, if these people are working, I'm thinking about employment-based immigration, Sam. There are people who getting green cards in the United States are working, frankly, lots of IT and engineering jobs, right? But
So the Wall Street Journal next day
yeah,
came out with a heading, and I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me. It says Vance states immigrant caused the housing crisis. Economists disagree. That's the heading of Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal is a right-leaning
yeah.
paper, but it's a very fair paper, I think. So let's take the first question, Brian.
May I finish my thought, Sam?
Yes, you may.
I don't. I mean, I tend to agree because no matter what, no matter who's filling a job in the United States, if there's somebody needing to do a high-end job and you're going to pay somebody a lot of money, that person's going to want to buy a house and settle down in the United States. And the bottom line is, if there aren't workers in the United States who are going to do that, well, who's it going to be? It's going to be immigrants from another country. And there you go.
So I'll throw in 25 cents worth, and we'll take
All right.
questions, and we go back to it.
I've already thrown in like
Yeah.
$10 worth anyway, so I'll
So
let you get 25 cents in.
yeah. So we are at a 1.6 person per on the next generation, for the next generation, 1.6 children per couple in
Yeah.
the United States. 1.6. This is a very low number.
Yep.
So we are a society that's contracting, just like Europe, and therefore we must rely on immigrants to be able to be competitive. Yet our politicians have the lack of sensitivity to hype up negativities, like Trump talking about Haitians eating dogs, and there's absolutely nothing, it's just, and then he comes in and say immigrants causing the housing crisis. I don't understand how irresponsible that is. Um, a lot of people like Trump, and when they vote for Trump, I respect their choice. I have no problem with people's choice and what they want to do, but I have a problem with rhetoric that creates, demonizes people, demonizes a
Yeah.
group of people.
Yeah.
And I take offense to people like Vance coming out and say, immigrants causing the housing crisis because we've created so many jobs in the U.S. We've created so many employment. We've created so much tax
Sam, would you
base.
classify yourself as an
Of
yes,
course,
yes,
I
you.
was offended. I caused the housing crisis too.
No, Sam,
I'm
but
an immigrant.
you created the job for this guy. Thanks.
I hope so. We got few people working here in the
Yeah,
office.
no, we have yeah. There you go. Right.
First question.
Yeah, Don't get me started again because I almost did. So,
Yeah.
Sam, we should talk about the nature of answering questions in this forum real briefly.
Yeah. So we don't know enough about you and your background. We will do the best we can with very little information. It may give you just kind of wet the palate, if you will, regarding your situation and give you some direction. But if you feel that you heard something here that's really interesting or important, consult with an immigration attorney of your choice to help you out with your case that have a full review and background of your case because we don't have that and therefore we cannot really give you a comprehensive advice. We are experienced immigration attorneys between Brian and I. We have more than not exactly 50 years but less
Right, yeah,
little
yeah,
less
yeah,
that
yeah,
between
yeah,
40 and 50
yeah,
years of experience in the business, but we don't have enough information to advise you, and therefore there's no
yeah.
attorney-client
The devil's in the
relationship
details.
established.
Yeah,
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 the devil is in the details. The case turns on 5 degrees
yeah,
of information that takes you completely in a different direction.
yeah.
With that, Brian, let's take the first one.
Yes, from Saif Khan. Hi, Sam and Brian. My PWD and PERM have been approved. Can I switch employer after PERM approved? And two, does employer have to file company taxes before filing for I-140 application?
It's an
So,
excellent question.
yeah, I don't think we've ever been asked these things in
Yeah.
this venue for. So, um, I'll first part first. My prevailing wage and perm have been approved. Can I switch employer uh, after perm approval? So you can always change employers. The question is, can you get any benefit from that perm? And the bottom line is, you're not going to get any benefit from a perm from employer A when you move to employer B, unless an I-140 has been filed based upon that perm. If you want your priority date from that perm, and you do, you're going to lose about probably a year and a half of time on your priority date. You want to get an I-140 filed through that employer, and ideally, you would love to have that I-140 approved for 6 months, so they cannot withdraw the I-140 when you leave the company. Well, they
So,
can, but you still get the benefits from it.
so of course, our friend Mr. Khan has his perm approved.
Yep,
So if you withdraw before the perm is approved,
yep,
no benefit.
yeah. If you do, yeah. If you leave the company before, and then
If
if the
you
company
leave the
doesn't,
company,
yeah,
yeah.
if the company doesn't file the I-140, you're not going to get any benefit from it. Yeah,
So I'm going to break it down here.
no,
So
okay,
before the perm is approved,
yeah,
no benefit if you leave
yep,
the company.
yep,
After the perm is approved, no benefit if you leave the company.
yep,
After the I-140 is filed, no benefit
yep.
if you leave the company. After the I-140 is approved,
Priority date retained.
one benefit only.
Yes, sir.
Priority date retained. Leave the company before 180 days of the I-140 approval, no additional benefit
Hmm.
other than retaining the I-140
Yep,
priority date.
yep.
After the I-140 is approved, more benefits,
Approved for more than 180 days.
more
And
than 100 days.
yeah,
Yeah.
basically, they can send a letter to withdraw it, but USCIS says, okay, what we're going to allow you to do is withdraw the offer of employment. Instead, we're going to leave the I-140 approved, meaning your former employee can, still extend their H-1B based upon this I-140, and their spouse can still get
Beyond
an
6 years.
H4, yeah, still get an H4 EAD. Those are the big benefits that come after that. So
Okay, so we broke it
protecting,
down.
yeah,
Yeah, good.
that's a good way to break it down for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So number two.
yeah.
Oh, there's a number two on the first question.
Yeah. You're right. I'm sorry. Does my employer have to file company's taxes before filing for I-140 application?
Yeah, no, yes, and no.
Yeah. You say yes, and maybe I'll say the opposite, Sam. How about that?
Yeah, yes and no. So the employer must file their taxes in the normal course of business,
Mhm.
meaning that there is a time depending on their situation and their fiscal year. There's a time they file for taxes. Sometime they are able to file for extension of their taxes, and therefore they need to conduct their business in the normal way they would otherwise conduct their business.
Yep.
No change in
Yep.
the way they conduct their business. Now, the timing of the I 140 filing is going to dictate the type of evidence you're going to submit for your to support financial ability, and therefore there's no filing out of the normal course of business. So let's assume, let's get, I think examples would be a good way
Mhm.
to explain this. So let's assume your I-140 is due to be filed, or the perm is filed, and now you're getting ready to file your I-140,
Mhm.
and it is January 31st.
Mhm.
But the employer, well, no, the January 31st is not a good date.
How about March 31st?
March 31st.
Yeah.
That's after the April filing deadline.
No, it's not.
For
It's just before it.
oh, is it? What's the day?
March
What?
March 31st. It's April like 15th is the filing deadline, right?
Okay, so you said March or
I,
May?
I said March
Yeah, I was
31st.
thinking you said May. I like May, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
After.
Okay.
So
So
so you
May.
come to the employer and you can file the I-140 in May, but the employer tells you, but I didn't file your tax. My taxes I filed for an extension. That's fine.
Yeah.
You just need, there are certain evidence you need to submit to prove that the employer meets the financial ability.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they have the taxes at that time, you can use the taxes. Hopefully, the numbers add up,
Yeah.
because filing taxes alone does not solve your problem. Filing taxes that shows financial
That's a
ability,
great point. That's a great.
yeah,
That's a great point.
that what's
Yeah.
gets your case down. So the company needs to do what they need to do in terms of complying with tax law. You need to, and the immigration attorney needs to file what they need to file for your green card. But communication between the attorney, who is the attorney for the company during the I-140 and the labor certification filing, must communicate with the employer what is the financial expectation and the type of evidence needed at various stages of the tax cycle, if you will,
Mhm.
that is needed from the company to get your
Yeah.
I-140 approved.
No, I'm entirely on board with that. I mean, the reason why I brought up the bottom line for me is you have to give the company has to give its most up-to-date tax information at the time the case is filed. But if you're filing at a time when it might be behoove the company to file some sort of tax document first, that's something that might delay them. For example, if you filed on the tax deadline's April 15th, and you can get away with filing an I-140 on April 1st, and you'll give your most, if you haven't filed your tax returns yet, the company hasn't filed its tax returns yet, but there's a good chance you're going to get an RFE saying, "Oh, great, you passed the tax filing deadline. Please go ahead and give us the taxes. Please give us the taxes now in the form of an RFE." And or you're right, maybe your 1 year's tax returns don't show your ability to pay very well. Maybe the next one does it. So that's something that can really kind of impact that as well. I guess if I were to guess that Saif Khan has maybe gotten that from an employer, and it's not a crazy thing for somebody to tell you, because there's a definitely benefits that come with it.
So we're not going to answer the question, but I think what Khan asked, the question asked, what kind of evidence do I need to submit to support financial ability by the employer in my case?
Yeah.
That's really the question. That's a difficult question because there's so many. It's not too complicated, but it's something beyond the scope of a simple question and a simple answer.
Yeah.
But hopefully, we've given him at least enough
Yeah.
information to lead him in the right
Yeah.
direction.
It's not a crazy
Yeah,
thing for an employer to say, "We got to file these taxes first." It's
yeah,
within the it's we've had that conversation with our clients, no doubt.
yeah.
Yeah. So from Hafiz, who has a question that is not entirely different from the one we just saw from Saif. Can we change company after perm is approved? And fast forward through your brain and remember what Sam was saying. Depends upon. Yes, I guess you can always leave at any time. There's nothing keeping you with a company forever. But what you take away from that company depends upon where you are at in the green card process, essentially. But
Yeah.
if I change company, does the whole process need to restart over again with a new company? And the answer is yes, fundamentally. If you haven't been able to file for an I-485 and somebody else is going to be filing an I-485 for you in the future, that company's going to need to file an I-140 petition for you.
And then a perm. If it
Yeah,
changed
yeah, yeah,
after the
yeah, yeah.
perm is approved.
Yeah, sorry, perm and I-140. Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. The entire shebang all over again. Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So a just
Good
a
questions, by the way.
yeah, I know, right? I'm happy with these. We never know what we're gonna get. You know.
Yep.
Hi, Brian and Sam. Thanks for doing this and taking your time. Well, we're always here. Yeah. Except on federal holidays. A lot of federal holidays fall on Monday, and we're not going to argue too much with that. Take the day off and avoid us for a day. So from Arindam, Sam
I'm a
Shahid.
computer science and engineering graduate from India. Have 20 years of experience in software development and IT industry, includes 7 to 8 years in data science and AI projects.
And I'm going to go to the next bit of it here. It looks like we got a multi-parter.
Currently on EB2 with priority date of June 5th, 2015. Per my request, EB1 petition is currently being filed by my company. All
Hmm.
right.
Hmm.
There was an amendment to EB1A criteria released by USAS on October 2nd saying that we consider a person's receipt of a Teams award under criteria of lesser nationally or
Yeah, sorry.
internationally recognized prizes or awards for excellence in the field of Ender. It doesn't mean that the award and recognition I have received in my company will be recognized under this criteria. So let's go back to one slide back
Yeah.
for a correction. So
Oh,
there was,
sorry.
yeah, I think you go to the
This one.
second one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
So
Yeah.
it says there was an amendment to the EB1 criteria
Yeah, there was a
release.
policy, a USCIS policy update regarding EB1A in the last.
Yeah, but there's no change in as much as there's clarification.
Yeah,
Because the law has been in place for more than 2 decades.
yeah.
It's just how they read it. So they consider a person to receive a team award under the criteria as lesser nationally or internationally recognized. Next one, Brian. Sorry.
Sorry. Internationally, yeah.
Recognized prizes award for excellence in the field of endeavor doesn't mean that the award recognition I've received in my company will be recognized under this criteria. It is very difficult for me to say yes or no because I need to know a lot more about these awards and a lot know more about your company and a little bit more about who was considered in the award.
Yeah,
So
I'm
yeah.
I'm sort of reading some policy on the commentary right
Mhm.
now. It's basically clarifying that maybe some of these awards that may seem a little bit lesser might meet the EB1A criteria, but frankly, the sort of things they're talking about here are the sort of things I would always argue. Uh, I guess when it comes to an EB1A case, there are some things you can argue and you may not win. And I don't think this really sort of changes it. The way I'm sort of reading this, it's that there's certain awards which you may have not thought we would have considered, and we're clarifying that we would consider them being sort of lesser awards.
Meaning that it's more expansive than it is restrictive, Brian.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
it's more helpful than not helpful. I think you're reading it the other way around. Uh, Malakar is reading it that it is becoming, they're restricting it.
yeah,
Whereas, Brian, your reading of it is that they are opening it up for more to include more possibilities.
I think so. I think that's what's going on here. And again, always for any of these categories, any of these sort of criteria based immigration categories, you can always argue any sort of evidence that is similar or in the same range of what they sort of say is explicitly on the list. Meaning, I don't think there's any sort of radical change to EB1A policy, but it does seem they seem to be opening it more and reminding them it's a little bit broader than you might think. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but of course, we haven't answered this question. And
Yeah.
the question is, are these awards for my companies are no longer any good? The answer is no, you cannot make that conclusion. But for us to help you answer that question, Brian, you're
I
dying to
read
say something.
this question in entirely differently. Basically, I think maybe somebody wasn't considering awards within the
Does it mean
company.
that award I've received in my
Yeah.
company will be recognized?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
regardless, the same answer.
yeah.
Whether or not these awards in your organization are recognized or not recognized pursuant to the policy, it depends on a lot of factors,
Hmm.
which are not we don't have it here today, and that's why the disclaimer up front is just we don't have enough to answer that question. But what are the criteria that will help us or help you feel that maybe they are relevant or not relevant? So things like the size of your company. Is this
who
a is
who your
this
company is.
Yeah.
Are they a leader in this field? Do they who is your competition?
How
It's
many people applied?
yeah.
It's a 5 employee company and 3 people applied. Of course, I'm being sarcastic or
Oh
maybe
yeah.
extreme. That's it's not relevant. But
If
if
you get
you
the
are,
top engineer award at Dunkin' Donuts versus the top engineer at Amazon,
yeah,
it's a little bit different.
yeah. Well, plus Dunkin' Donuts is delicious coffee. So if you maybe improve the coffee in your work, then maybe it is, and you get recognition. Yeah.
Well,
So
see,
it's all relevant.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I like Dunkin' Donuts, and my
Well,
daughter goes to Boston, and she eats Dunkin' Donuts every now and then. And I that was my present to her, Brian. You're making fun of Dunkin' Donuts.
no,
I'm not
no,
happy
I'm
about
not.
that.
So I'm originally from the East Coast, Sam. And
But you're not from Boston.
I'm not from Boston, Sam Shehab. They didn't. Dunkin' Donuts didn't used to be around here in Columbus, and now they're everywhere. And meaning I like their coffee, and I will go
Yes,
ahead
yes, me too.
and
Yes, clean food, good food.
yeah,
All right, so Malakar, it's all relevant. It's hard to answer that question. Let's
yeah.
take the next one.
You could make it. I'd say you can make an argument based upon these awards before, and you can make an argument based upon them now. And
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
your attorney just has better policy to cite, saying, "Yeah, you really should consider these." So
yeah.
Ignazio says, "How long does it typically get an unemployment-based AOS I-45 get approved? And is it worth to file for work authorization I-765 if I already have a visa? Thanks." So, employment-based I-485, literally, it depends upon the service center. Ignacio, if you look to the USCIS website, uscis.gov, if you go to the main page, maybe about, scroll down about a page worth, on the right side, you'll see check processing times, and you can type in any kind of case. I'm going to say type in I-485, and it'll tell you where the processing times are for those, depending upon the service center at which your case is. Bottom line is employment-based adjustment applications. They give times for the service centers, and they also give time for local field offices. Odds are that your case for employment-based immigration is not going to go to a local field office. Odds are it's going to stay in a service center, and that's where you should probably look at the processing times. I never really trust these things. For example, California, they say 21 months. Nebraska, 15 and a half months. Texas, drum roll, 30 months. I don't really think they're that bad for employment-based immigration, presuming you have a current priority date. But I'm sure somebody else in our audience can say, I've been waiting legitimately that long, 30 months for an employment-based green card. So please let us know. Yeah.
A couple things to add. So the answer to me is about a year and a half.
That's a fair answer. Yeah.
Then the published information at USCIS website is really, unfortunately, a little bit garbage in, garbage out.
I would agree with that.
Um, and also, it doesn't tell you the average time. It tells you
80% of cases.
80% of the cases we process within the timeline.
Yeah.
What about the other 20%?
Yeah.
So sounds like somebody is playing number games.
Yeah.
Somebody did the analysis and say, oh, if we say 80%, it's a little bit better than the average, and therefore let's do 80%. It looks better, but maybe it shows less than the average. So I've never seen anybody publish data with that kind of language ever.
Yeah.
Sounds like a slick, very slippery, not very trustworthy somebody talking to me when somebody gives me the answer.
A common theme in our conversation around here is that one of the things that frustrates people so much is the lack of clear information from USCIS, and this is on brand for that. And I always think that people would be, very happy to see what is the longest processing I-130 case, and what is like, the normal processing one, and how do you get past there? People would be interested to see that. In terms of the USCIS data, Sam, I'm going to defend the case status processing times in the USCIS website a little bit. Why? Because they're kind of accurate. Do you know what's not accurate? If you have a My USCIS account and you put in your case number and you can track your case to that account, they will tell you, how many weeks are processing on certain types of cases in there. Those things are a house of lies in my estimation. That they'll tell you how long your I-130 or I-45 is going to take in there. And people tell me they see those numbers go up and down all over the place. I'm pretty sure the numbers in the My USCIS portal are specifically intended to pacify you because and make you give you something to feel good about, because I don't trust them at all. I always find the ones on the main USCIS website to be a little bit more accurate than those things.
Okay. And I go dark.
Yes. Well, Sam, I think it's your turn.
All right, from Sophia Evi. I sent my I-45 package to be delivered on October 1st, but it arrived one day early. Okay.
Oh dear.
How will this affect my application? Oh, ouch. So it could come back.
Yep.
It could come back.
It should come back in my estimation, but let's explain why a little bit. So I'm imagine, Sam, you have the same look in your face as I do, because you believe that Sophie's priority date came current on October 1st and wasn't current in September, and thereby that case would have arrived a day before visa was available to her, correct?
That's the assumption, yeah.
Yeah. And if USCIS gets a I-45 case on a date the visa is not available to you, it is historically their practice to send that case back. Fun fact, I've never done that, but USCIS has been mistakenly wrong on this, and if they think your visa is not available, they will send a case back.
USCIS has been mistakenly wrong?
Has been... Is that a double negative, I guess? They have been incorrect on this matter to me. I remember when I was relatively new at this, I remember just getting a employment-based green card case back saying, reject it. Your visa is not available, and I was really sure it is. And it's a sort of thing where maybe they weren't current for the next month, and the month had already passed. And the answer was, well, you send it back, and they take the case. Is the bottom line.
Watch. Okay, I don't know what kind of case it is, but watch the cashing of the check. If the check is cashed,
more likely than not.
Semi good news, because they can still cause trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, just because they didn't figure it out immediately, it's possible that they could figure it out after the fact and issue you.
They can figure it out. I'm sorry to say this, 3 years later.
This is true. Yeah.
And say that we've handed you a green, but if they handed the green card during the year and accepted the case, that kind of makes it difficult. But yes, this is pushing the line. I mean,
so what I would honestly
don't do this again.
Yeah,
this is an example of things not to do.
Well,
Sophie,
Sam,
I'm sorry.
You're scaring this poor person. What's the end game for this scenario?
Just file a new one.
Yeah.
File a new one and wait about. My advice is wait about 10 days.
Yeah.
Because you don't want two cases.
That's true. Yeah.
And if they cash the check, would you recommend they keep going if you cash the check, Brian?
I would, if my client comes to me and I'm doing a consultation, I'd say you have a problem, and basically anytime they can catch their error. And as we were talking a lot today, Sam, sometimes the government doesn't care if they issue to you a green card error. They're happy to penalize you for it. And meaning, I would say that your smart money is, even though it's painful to lose the money, the filing fees, the $1,400 and some change you spent on that case, your smart money is to withdraw that case and give them one that's properly timely filed. It would it's a painful advice to give, but it's
painful
the one
advice to give, but that's the right advice to give.
Yeah, I want to be able to tell them, no, you'll be fine. But I think basically it's not like this happened 3 years ago. It's happened a couple of weeks ago, and you're not losing much. I know you want that green card as soon as possible, but
it's completely unrelated case, completely different circumstances. So don't even think that what we're talking about is something similar to your case.
No.
However, we were having a conversation today about somebody who got the green card in error today.
Yep.
Remember? And you were so upset, Brian, because
she's upset.
You were upset because she's applying for naturalization in USCI. Completely different set of circumstances,
Yeah.
but
We're not.
give you a flavor. And the USC said, "Well, that green card was issued in error." and therefore we're not going to naturalize you.
Yeah, ever
And
essentially.
yeah, yeah, and they're relying on some kind of a court decision that issued in the Sixth Circuit that kind of
Yeah,
supports that proposition. So, and again,
yeah,
different circumstances, but at least that gives you an idea, the flavor. So in your case, probably you're right. I'll just make a stop payment on the checks. No, that would get them angry.
yeah. They will send you. They will send you a. I think they
An
charge you what is it,
invoice.
$30 for that, something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I don't think
and
they're.
then file a new one.
I don't think they're going to cash the checks. I think if they're doing their job and the mailroom is fairly accurate, they probably would you just reject this case outright. And if your checks haven't been cashed and it's already what today's the 7th of October, if they haven't cashed the checks now, there's a reasonable chance that it's already on its way back to you in the mail, and they just send it back to you with an explanation that Visa's not available, something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, I
All
hope we
right.
made the right assumption. We talked a lot about it.
Well, here, Sam. Let us make our disclaimer once again. We don't have the information. We are forced to fill in the gaps here. If you, Sophie, it sounds like you have a legit immigration issue, and it's the sort of thing that any sort of I don't even know what type of green card it is. Employment based, family based. I don't know. But any sort of immigration attorney should be able to advise you on that, be it if they're somebody who does employment, which we do a lot of and talk about here, or if they do family based, they should be able to figure that one out for you as well. And again, I think that you'd advice, presuming the facts we think are on the table are accurate, the advice on that has to be pretty much universal, I think.
I have an interesting question. The next one.
Yeah. Okay.
I like Empire's next question.
Yes.
If it's an error in their estimate, do you see them moving the date for filing before USCIS stop accepting the date for filing chart?
I don't understand that question, and it sounds like you have your head wrapped around it. I need you to expand it for me, Sam.
No. It is that kind of a question, but I take issue with the word error in their estimate.
There can be no error in an estimate,
There
right?
can be no error in estimate. There's estimate, so there's a zero chance that an estimate can be wrong because it's an estimate. And that's why the visa bulletin is published monthly, so they can correct any error in their estimate. I'm using your language now. I would never use that. I would say if they want to provide updated
Yeah,
information,
yeah. Better estimate based
better
on the
estimate,
information they have.
improved
Yeah,
estimate.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and there's no the only thing now you're getting that
No, no.
question. You're liking it.
I'm just thinking like when are their estimates really good? Like I think everybody's really feeling really confident when they're on. It's like the 364th day of the year, and then oh, okay, guys, we have 5 visas left. That's the only time when they're real confident about availability and
The
where we can
only
go.
time there's an error is, and it happens every year. Well, it's been happening a lot. Is when they on October 1st they say we couldn't approve 5,000 green cards. That's an error.
Yeah.
Right there is an error. But during the year, there are no errors. These are based
Oh,
on best estimates possible, and they just move forward.
yeah, yeah.
So there's not going to be any adjustment or any changes or any admission of error in estimate. None of that happened. Even when they make the real error, which they could not process 60,000 green cards a couple of years ago, right?
That's a bit of a gut punch, man. You have to move on with life
Yeah,
and put things out of your head, but that's a ruiner, isn't it?
yeah,
They
yeah.
had the dates up until December 2014 because their estimate at the time thought they could give a green card away to all those people up through December 2014, and they probably could have had they actually issued, those. That's the scary part. The priority dates got so far ahead
And
because
Congress would not
they
sit
thought
down and just extend the damn thing. That's
you reminded me of yeah of something that on the subject of
painful.
immigration I'm sorry, Sam.
Painful.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking we were talking about immigration and the law and people complaining about how the immigration law works. Nobody's made a change in a significant change to immigration law in the last 35 years.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did they pass recently? Something in the 5 minutes? Something, what did happen in immigration? They passed it very quickly because they're in panic. There was something they just passed just recently
I don't
because they're
remember.
worried about it. It'll come back to me. Yeah.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Fear. The only thing is fear. Y2K They double, triple the number of H1B because there's fear.
Mhm.
They did that in seconds.
Mm.
All right, Hari Guru got a question for us, Brian.
Yeah, it sounds like a follow up from last week. So, hi Sam and Brian. Sorry, last week probably didn't articulate my questions correctly. Got green card EAD, but on H1, which is valid until 12/2024. Employer planning to submit H1B amend and extension. And part two, planning to move to a different location in the same state, which is 120 miles away, in June.
Updated the HR portal
Okay.
with my new address with effective future date.
hmm Of eight.
Didn't relocate to new location.
Okay. And part three. Forgot to update move-in date when H1 amend wasn't filed by H24
Two
paycheck.
paycheck ran for future location even though I'm still at my current address. Does constitute immigration violation. Okay, so I'm gonna make this simple. So to me, what happened is planning on moving, didn't planning on moving, miscommunication. He did his job, she didn't do. Somebody, an LCA meant filed for a new location, but he did not move and got paid two paychecks for the new location, right?
Yeah. Yeah, a different wage rate. Whether than he should have been paid.
Yeah,
Yeah, apparently.
yeah. Okay. So there's two issues here. There's two issues. There's a Department of Labor issue, and there's a USCIS issue
Mhm.
with the Semio memo coming out
Well,
for me.
I don't think he moved though, Sam.
He didn't move. Yeah, he
He
did
did.
not
Okay,
move.
okay, okay.
Yeah, he did not move.
Okay, well, I'm going to hear the rest of your thought before I criticize it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes, okay. No, you can criticize it now too. I'm good with that. So the Department of Labor memo, memos or laws says that you got to pay the prevailing wage at the location
hmm
where you're working. It's really, really what it comes down to.
No doubt.
So if the new location, the 120 miles away,
Mhm.
is a higher wage than where you at, and you end up paying more money, there's no wage issue.
Yeah, congratulations. You got a little pay bump. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no
great.
wage issue as to where you worked and what you got paid, because that's really the bottom line.
Mhm.
And there could be technical violation LCA, but these are not, necessarily fatal because the prior LCA remains. But they did not withdraw that prior LCA. It's
Yeah.
sitting there somewhere in
Oh yeah.
somebody's
I
file.
think the way I'm understanding it is basically this: you were on H1B. They thought they're going to move you to location B. They never did, but they paid you the location B wage for a little. A little. Yeah,
Yeah, for 2 months.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
But
on
if
board with
it's
that.
lower, so if the location be lower wage and they get paid less,
Than what's on your H1B.
there's
Yeah.
a then there's a problem. But there's a solution to that problem. The solution is simple. We just discovered you working on A and A. We paid you for B. We need to correct this. Here's a check for $2.25 or
Yeah.
$500.25. To correct that, it will be reflected on your next paycheck to document correction as per LCA, and therefore we now have remedied the prior
Yeah.
violation.
Yeah.
Easy to remedy.
Yeah, is it? I mean, is it still a tech? I mean, is it a technical
Technically,
violation? But
yeah,
yeah,
but
but you can't go back in time and fix it. All the employer can do is go back and pay the right wage and say sorry and let the if anybody asks questions, they said we figured it out, we fixed it, and that's
and
all we
you
can do.
get, I've been in enough of these audits, and Brian, you've done the audits. These are the type of correction where make the employer looks good. As a matter of fact,
Yeah,
oh, you did that. Oh, you discovered it and you corrected it. You're a good guy. As a matter of fact, it's kind of you get like a check mark that you're responsible. So I'm not worried about that. So that's the Department of Labor side. The um, the USCIS side, the semi memo that says you got to have an H1B where you're working, filed an amendment. You told them you're going somewhere, but you really did not go. Um, yeah, it could be a problem. However, there is a big debate on whether or not an amendment um, creates
and like an
an
obligation.
additional location or a substitute location,
That's a great point. Yeah,
and that has never been answered. Obviously, conservatively, you would say it
You-
creates an alternative location. You're on the safe side when that happened. But we are lawyers and we are advocates, and that's our job, is to create the argument that it's not the end of the world. So the amendment creates that opportunity. And also, I think there could be that opportunity to really work either or for a couple months, unless it's filed in premium processing.
Yeah, I mean that
So
that
yeah.
Simeo memo makes reference to, unless you already have an H-1B approved for the work site. I think the way I interpret it, I think that USCIS thinks you're supposed to file an amendment every time that you move, but maybe again it's not entirely clear. It's sort of wishy washy, I guess is the bottom line.
Well, he filed an amendment, but this amendment is still pending.
See, I don't think he for Harger's nuts forgot to update the moving date when H-1B amendment wasn't well. It says what wasn't filed.
By 8/24.
Oh, I see. I see. So,
But even though if he moved and didn't move, so there's two
yeah,
months.
yeah,
There's a 2 months of variation, and if he filed an H-1B amendment saying he's going to move there, but didn't move until 2 months, this H-1B probably still pending for 2 months.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I get. Okay, I see what you're saying. If it's a scenario where the
it's
H-1B,
overlapping.
yeah, if it's you're not if you filed it before you if you moved a good chunk of time after the H-1B amendment was filed, I get it. When's the obligation for you to take up to move and actually? I see what you're saying. I understand. It appears there is an H-1B. I gotcha. I gotcha.
So it could be some violation there, but these I mean the question I have: did you end up moving to the new location or not? Or are you continuing on the first location? So the H-1B
Yeah.
is approved. Now you're still in location A, and the H-1B is approved now for location B for a long time. That can be a problem. But let's say you move shortly thereafter, and there is a time, if it's filed in premium processing. Also, I think there's at least a 30-day reasonable period of time, because the prior LCA remains valid, it's not withdrawn, and the validity period of the prior H-1B is not expired, I'm assuming. So again, if a Brian is looking at this case for you, he would need the files. He wants to look at every piece of document, because this is the kind of things where it's going to turn on language and details where you can drive a Mack truck through these
Yeah.
things in defense of the company sometime, because of the way it's written. So
Yeah.
it is not, I mean, that's the difference between, with all due respect to all the human resource people, I like a lot of them and they're wonderful people, between an HR who knows the law in a black and white and little of it, and an immigration attorney who's done so much of these and knows that what we do is not a switch
Yeah.
on and off. So to me, I'm not alerted about 60 days, but I'd like to look at the documents to give a better answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that answer the question, or just leaves a lot of things
That's a
muddied?
so it's a complicated issue. It's the bottom line. I think I would agree that you got to kind of look at the details. I mean, I know Harger, I appreciate that you came back and tried to explain the situation better, and Sam and I seem even more, confused and pulling at different strings on it this time than last time. But the bottom line is, if there's a payment issue, they can usually be resolved, and that's
So
that.
the only thing that alerts me is he says at the end, "I'm still at my current address."
Yeah, so I mean, if I were to boil down the situation, it sounds like there was a plan to move. A move didn't happen. He initiated the move in the payment portal, and they said, "Okay, we're going to raise your rate or change your rate accordingly." And the question is, is his change in pay a violation of the H-1B rules? And I'd say, and where you were at the beginning was, if you got paid more, a little bit more, that's not a big problem, as long as it's not a massive amount more. I think they could have, in theory, have a problem with that.
No.
But if you got paid less, the employer's below the H-1B obligation, which is something that can be talked about with them, and most decent companies are willing to fix it. You know?
A lot of time, I mean, the best way to explain this like my metaphors, I kind of make
Yeah.
it equal to something completely different. It's when the boat start rocking a little bit, it doesn't mean it's sinking.
Hmm.
It means that you need to stabilize it.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of, look at it. Do you need to do any remedial measures to fix it?
Yeah.
How much water did that boat take? Is there a permanent damage? That kind of a thing. I don't see anything here that makes me feel, oh my God. Unlike our Sophie friend, where we thought that this was a really not a good thing to send the case a day earlier. So one day made a huge difference on our opinion. In your case, I just don't see the totality, at least, unless until I look at the document,
Yeah.
thing that would say, "Oh my God, this is a massive
Yeah.
violation." I'm not impressed.
Yeah.
Sorry, so
No,
far.
no. I mean, these issues are out there. Again, I was recently representing somebody on something, a big old long dispute with his employer over was ultimately a couple $100, but he was sort of a persnickety guy, and he said, "Well, the bottom line is you guys didn't pay me right, and that's a violation. It means technically I'm out of immigration, violating my immigration status, which means if I want to get a green card, I have to disclose that." And he's a better person than most, obviously. So yeah. So, a question from Atul here. Before the idea of attorneys willing to represent candidates for EB1A and no money charged unless the case gets approved, a contingency, they would call that. Would she have Burke be willing to go down that route? I don't think this is a venue where we talk about, what we charge for a case. I think I would just say the maybe the downside of, a contingency on any sort of immigration case is that somebody's going to be charging you a lot more for it, I
Let's
guess.
explain what a contingency
Yeah.
is so people understand. So, contingency, very popular in, let's say,
Personal injury.
personal injury cases when there's somebody's injured and they say, I'll take your case and I'll take one third of the profit, of the return or the compensation. Let's say somebody cracked their ribs in the accident. Say, well, a cracked rib costs about $30,000 in average jury verdict. I'll take the case. And I'll get one third if I don't go to trial. If I go to trial, I get 40%. Usually, that's what they do,
Mhm.
and they get you $50,000 without going to trial. They take one third of that number. That's a contingency case.
Yeah.
Immigration law. There is a law firm that says we don't take money unless your case is approved, and that's fine. It's good for them. The
Yeah.
truth of the matter is, um, I'd say 95% of immigration cases, if you know what you're doing, gets approved.
Yeah.
Taking cases on contingency is almost taking money from you unfairly. Now, I have had in my 30 years plus or minus practicing immigration law, have taken cases on contingencies very infrequently when I have a client who is incredibly uncomfortable and I'm involved with them and I say, okay, we'll take it on contingency because they insist. I never offer it because if I'm taking the case, I'm convinced you have a good case.
Yeah.
If I'm convinced you have a good case, why would you pay me double, for example, or 50% more to on a 5% chance?
Yeah.
95%. If I'm getting cases approved, 95%. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah,
No, if you think, I mean, I guess there's a lot to think. Is money a motivator? I don't know. I'm always motivated to get a case approved because I get personally irritated. I try to basically uh, I mean, I turn down a lot of EB1A cases. People who want EB1A, and I don't think you have a good case. I don't think it's there. I don't think you meet the requirements. I just don't see it. I don't see the narrative. I'd rather just take, you know,
the counter argument, Brian.
yeah,
The counter argument is a client wants to be comfortable. That, hey,
yeah,
listen, he's going to get me the approval. I'll pay him the double,
yeah,
or I'm happy to pay more. I just don't want to pay money and somebody sit down. People who think that you will do a better job. It's not that you will do a better job. It's just they're comfortable with they're not taking the risk with you, or you're taking the risk, and therefore you know what you're doing.
yeah, yeah, sure,
Yeah, I mean, I am not opposed to it. I just feel that a lot of time you may be paying me more than I deserve going down that route.
yeah,
Now, we don't do things like this in general, just because 95% of our cases do get approved. I mean, I don't remember the last EB1 that was not approved. Honestly,
well,
I'm sure
yeah.
there is one out there, but I just don't remember. But it is what it is. I guess it's a
I mean,
financial thing.
for an attorney to take that, EB1A case on a contingency, they think it's
Some
going to
other
be
lawyers.
approved. Well, they think it's going to be approved, and you're
Well, yeah, who's the attorney that does that?
I don't
Two
know.
types. Two
I've only
types of
heard
lawyers.
conceptually about it. So
Yeah, two types of lawyers. One that takes everything and they play the law of averages. So if you're filing every case, You take anything on contingency. Okay, so I get knocked out 2 out of 10. If I'm taking 50% more, I only will lose money if 75 less than 75% of my case get approved.
Mhm.
So this that kind of a lawyer will take the case because again they're not stupid people, they're smart people, they know the business, they're business people. So it's a mathematical equation for them.
Mhm.
So it's that kind of a lawyer that will take the case on contingency. The other one who is 100% sure, confident
Yeah.
of the case, and that you should take on flat fee either
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my opinion. But it's you whom you it's your psyche and how you're built
Yeah.
as a human being. You may feel better hiring somebody on contingency. I don't have because it's the fear. Okay, he's taking on flat fee. What makes me? What? Why would this guy work hard for me? He's making his money anyways. That's the
Yeah.
argument that people have. And yeah, I guess what yeah, I understand. I can understand your fear and suspicion.
Those who know me know I'm not subject to that line of
But
thinking.
it's a good
Yeah. No.
education for
Yeah. Yeah.
people because this is something people don't want to talk about. Money is a sensitive issue. We don't talk about money. Normally, we don't take cases on contingency. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like we've never done that. We do it on special circumstances.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, but that's the decision. People come to you when you're doing H1B. They say, "Well, I'd like to pay for an H1B RFE combined because you're going to do something in the case. You're going to file it where you're going to generate an RFE, so you can charge me more money." Um, this immigration office and most successful immigration offices are very busy. We
Yeah.
don't want to see RFEs. Trust
I'm
me.
I'm not looking because in our H1B I know how to do it. I know how to do an H1B. I don't know what that RFE is going to bring. I don't. I mean,
So
I'm a human
you're
being. I
like you
don't have to.
miss something or you don't
Yeah.
push up, so you can create an RFE to make more money. A lot of people think so. So if I combine it, or I can have a flat fee on both of them in one piece. I have a good company, a good friend of mine, who said, "I don't want to pay a separate fee for every time I get an RFE. I'm going to pay you one fee if we get an RFE. This way, I'm done." And I said, "If that's what you need, that's fine." Uh, a year and a half later, came back to me. He said, "Can I negotiate the other way now?" Because he didn't get any RFEs or enough RFEs in one year. He went back and did the numbers. It's just like it didn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
Yeah.
Which I told them, at the beginning, that this is not what we would like to do.
Yeah, that situation changes. Obviously, we're in a relatively low RFE kind of world for H1Bs right now. But yeah.
Well, yeah, and I made it clear to my friend and that client that I told him anytime you want to switch to the other
Yeah. Yeah.
model,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
But it took him a couple of years to kind of do the math and look at enough cases. Say, yeah, I'm paying too much money.
Yeah. Then again, there's occasionally every now and again that mother of all RFEs that comes in that might save your butt on there. I can think of a couple of
Yeah,
interesting RFEs that'll come in that way for
yeah.
sure. So Sam, we're gonna maybe try to get through some more questions a little bit faster because we're coming up on the end of our hour and
We're gonna stay here another little bit of time because I think
uh,
we're kind of
yeah, we
not
are getting
not being efficient.
into the reads on these this evening. That's something I usually do by myself, Sam. And I feel like you're swimming around in the lake in the reads with me. So,
Got it. All right.
hi Sam and Brian. How can the end dates of the I-94 be later than on the H-1B? I will answer that question. So when you have an H-1B approval notice, you actually, and you're inside the United States, you have two things. On the top, you have an approval for H-1B classification. That's the amount of time USCIS thinks you're eligible to be somebody on H-1B working in the United States. But under the H-1B rules, they allow you to have a 10-day grace period after your H-1B classification. The amount of time on your LCA ends, they will usually give you an additional 10 days on your I-94. Presuming that's the issue you're asking about, RD, it's basically possible to have 10 days more left on your I-94 than
Can they work on this 10 days?
no.
They cannot work on
You have
this
to be
10
approved
days.
for H-1B classification top half and have a valid I-94 bottom half.
Can you file for an H1B extension during those 10 days?
Yes, you can.
But you cannot work.
Correct. Yes, that's
And if
correct.
you work, it's a violation of your status.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next one.
There's a part two of this question. If for EB category, USCIS uses dates for filing October 2024, how long will this continue in this fiscal year instead of FAD? We do not know. We check every month just like you do.
Yeah.
So, Sam, sir.
That's typical, by the way,
Yeah,
to do it with the dates for filing first at
yeah,
the beginning of the year. And then sometime between the second and the third quarter, it switches
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Hello, Sam and Brian. My advance parole was approved while I was out of the country. I reapplied after back to US and they rejected, stating that I already have approved AP. I sent motion to reconsider filing a form, and now I have to travel. I would not use the advance parole that was approved.
Well, depends. How and this final question is how will this impact overall on your thoughts on approved AP? So it's possible for them to approve if you're outside the United States with an already valid advance parole, you know, and then you are filing for an extension
You just
one.
made an assumption, which I accept, but that's
Yeah,
not in the question. Just to make sure.
I will agree with that. I just don't
It's
know.
important because the problem is misunderstanding that issue and leaving on advance parole that should not have been approved, and somebody's on adjustment status could derail their adjustment status.
Agreed. That's a serious a
Serious
serious
problem.
yeah.
So if this is your first advance parole, uh, I would not travel on that advance parole. Hopefully, you're on
Agreed.
an H-1B. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Don't count on that. You mentioned an MTR filing. Don't count on that coming back
soon.
relatively
Yeah,
quickly. Yeah, they don't move on those very quickly.
yeah.
So this is sort of a follow up from Bendazio. He was asking how long an employment based green card takes. Again, the way I interpret those numbers, if he's in Los Angeles, the field office data, that would imply that the case is going to go to the local field office, but there's a reasonable chance that your case won't go to a local field office. Why? Because not many employment cases do. They tend to only send cases to field offices for interviews, and they don't interview many employment based green cards, at least under the current climate right now.
Yes.
Yes. An interesting question from RK. Do you think USCIS is using AI with national interest waiver and EB1A to help with adjudications?
I don't think AI is ready, and we haven't heard about any AI implementation with USCIS. This stuff is be public knowledge.
Yeah, there would
They,
be some sort of requisition somewhere where they actually said we're looking for a provider to provide AI
there's
reading
no
services.
AI that's at any level right now. I mean, that does legal work yet, but
Yeah,
it's coming. It's not there yet.
yeah. Well, if you check your inbox, Sam, somebody's probably spamming you right now with advertisements for AI legal service. Make your entire law firm make
AI,
everybody but yourself obsolete. No thanks.
yeah,
You know.
not yet.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be there, but
Yeah.
not yet.
Yeah. So, Bing, Rod's channel.
My lawyers are asking me that I also need to have an employment verification letter for I-485. I already gave them the appointment letter and pay stubs. So employment verification letter it has been replaced by supplement J
Yeah.
anymore. Employment verification letter is not something that is, and if it is an
Sam, you're
employment,
presuming. You're presuming.
I'm
You're
assuming
presuming.
it's a employment based case. So if it's
Gotcha.
family based case, thank you. It's thank you. That's why you're here to help me out and to correct me.
Yeah.
And if it's family case, they need an employment verification letter because of the financial ability portion of the
Ooh, okay.
I-64.
I thought, well, they could be, if it's a family preference petition, though, they could be confirming maintenance of status with, yep, so and so has been employed with. You see what I'm saying? If it's a family preference case where you're in a backlog category, you have to be in status in order to do that. Maybe that could be the issue there.
So it's a lot of information here that's missing. So the
Yeah,
adjustment status, there's family and there's employment.
yeah.
Employment, really, supplement J is not normally needed.
So supplement J is needed, but the
I'm
but the
sorry, employment
yeah
letter is not needed.
yeah it
Supplement
was
J is
got
needed.
supplanted by supplement J, like you said. Yeah,
In family side, there's something called I-64, which is the financial support.
yeah,
And you have to turn tax returns, but oftentimes they require confirmation of employment as
yeah,
well, that you're still working, you're making money.
Yeah.
That's the best I can do without more information.
What about that rare case when there's an employment-based case, but there's a family interest in it? You have to have an I-864 in that scenario as well. You
What's a
familiar with?
family interest? No.
No,
Family interest.
there's some sort of policy that's basically says for there's certain employment-based adjustments where there's some sort of like family-owned business that requires you to have a separate I-8. I'll spare you that very rare scenario. It's something listed in the I-8 I think in adjustment of status instructions about, but I'll move on and get to the actual questions here.
Sure.
So from Banu. I-45 online status shows case approved. Does it mean I will be receiving a physical card soon? And the answer is
Most
yes.
likely, yes.
Yes. Look for your case status to update to card being produced sooner rather than later. Sometimes it can take a couple weeks, but usually happens pretty quickly after you see approval. Yeah, that's good news.
Sophie is asking an excellent question.
Bing.
So Sophie, remember this is the lady that the case was received a day earlier. Can you
Mm-hmm.
explain dates for filing? Does that mean they accept your package, but they will only review approve when green card is available? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
So without knowing the kind of case you're in, and if they're accepting dates for filing, and you were filing it one day earlier,
Yeah. If they were accepting her dates for filing in September, I guess. Yeah.
so if your dates for filing is September is current for your category that you're filing for, then your case will be accepted.
Yeah.
And you'll be okay. So this is something we have not explained to her in the previous um,
Yeah.
in the previous answer,
Yeah.
and that's an excellent
Were they
point
accepting
for
dates for
Sophie.
filing for September though?
Yeah, usually at the beginning.
So that's the
That's
end
an
of the
excellent.
fiscal.
That's
That's the end.
yeah, that's an
Yeah.
excellent question. Yeah. Well,
Well,
that's hard to even find now.
no. I should. I think. I don't know.
They may show you last month. So
Yeah.
because it's the end of the fiscal year, I'm not. I don't. We don't remember. And again, we don't
Yeah.
know her category, whether it's family or employment based.
That's that's
So
that's that,
so
that's
that's it.
that's
Yeah.
that's true.
So
Yeah.
whether
Yeah.
if in September they're accepting dates for filing and that date for filing is current for you, then you're in good shape.
Yeah.
That's really the answer.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
Let's
yeah.
take Raj
Yeah.
Chanel. Raj Chanel.
Raj Channel.
Channel.
I don't know. I'm making assumptions about
Well, I think
his handle
Chanel.
there.
It sounded
He's
cooler.
he's fancy, but I imagine he's the Raj Channel. He's got a whole YouTube
Oh,
channel that we could be
okay.
looking at right now, checking out his content.
Okay.
Um, I'm working as a lecturer, still F1 student, and doing research. I-45 is based on national interest waiver. Is employment verification letter overkill? In what context?
Well, so he's filing an adjustment status.
Yep.
I-140 is self-petition. Employment is not required.
Yep.
Okay, employment is not required, and therefore he's saying maybe his attorney says, "Get me an employment verification letter," and because an employment verification letter is not required because
Oh,
national interest waiver is
he's the
self-petition.
one who was asking about. Oh, I see. I see. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to say, if your national interest waiver, because this gentleman may not want to talk to his employer about his green card application.
Well, but yeah, that's a good point. I don't know where his case is, right? If he's still trying to file the national interest waiver,
He's
I
filing
guess
I-45. Oh, are they doing concurrently? You're saying he's current?
I was wondering if he hasn't filed
There's
the
no concurrent.
I-140 yet. Maybe he's still trying to make the case about his he's going to be able to actually continue his work by having a job, for example.
No, his I-140 is approved to me, the way I'm interpreting it.
Okay, all right,
And
fair
he's
enough.
filing I-45. And
Fair
his
enough.
employer says, give me an employment verification letter. And employment verification letter is not required for national interest waiver because it's self-petition.
Okay, well,
So he doesn't want to share with his employer he's getting a green card.
I'm going to take a step back on this one though, Sam. And say, I don't think Raj Chan. I don't have no clue who Raj Channel's lawyer is. I don't think they're making him jump through hoops for ridiculous reasons.
But he's asking a smart question. I'm
Yeah.
going to go on dark here to turn the light on because it's getting dark in my room.
Yeah, I know. The sun's going down here, and I'm starting to look all dark and mysterious as the sun goes down. So, well, the bottom line.
Well, I mean, he may have a legitimate
It's a
reason to
reasonable.
tell his
So
employer.
here's how I can imagine. I can imagine somebody sending him a generic I-45 document list and not thinking about this guy doesn't need an offer of employment. But how about maintenance of status? Employment verification letter confirms maintenance of status. He's an employment-based
Paycheck
green card
stubs.
applicant. Paycheck stubs work. Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
So he doesn't. So I mean, yeah. So, but HR can give you an employment verification letter.
Yeah.
I need to apply for. Can
Loan.
I need a
Yeah.
letter that I'm working here.
Yeah.
Why?
Mhm.
I'm applying for a loan. I'm
Yeah.
applying for a document. I just need a letter that I'm working
Yeah.
here.
Yep. Yep.
But now, if they're asking certain language in it, and his title and his job duties and responsibilities, HR is going to ask him more questions, and he's going to be more reluctant to give him
Right.
unless they know why.
Yeah.
So I think I'd go back to the lawyer and say, I'm not telling my employer I'm getting the green card. The green card. I'm keeping it to myself,
Yeah.
and I don't want to share that. Can you work around this for me?
Well,
And they may say yes. They may say no. And if they say yes, he answers his own question by being very upfront with his employer, with
well,
his
yeah.
attorney.
Fundamentally, you can ask the lawyer why. You know,
Well,
we,
no,
we,
well, I mean, yeah, why is a good question. Why is an excellent question. But I
yeah.
think to me, a better question is, the reason, because you can confine in your attorney unless he's the company lawyer, in which case may have a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask for that letter from my company because I don't want
Them
to
to
let
know
them
about it.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm entitled to that
Yep.
privacy.
Yep.
Can you work around it for me?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a kind of conversation you
Yeah,
have. Yeah.
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 All right.
So let's go for Susanta Samantha. H4 I-797 approved until 4/30/2026. I did not visit outside the USA in the last 8 years. Current H4 EAD is expiring on 4/30/2025. Do I need to cross the border to extend the H4 EAD? So as I read it here, H4 status I-94 expiring in 4/30/2026. The EAD is expiring on 4/30/2025. The face of that EAD says it expires on 4/30/2025. And I think the answer becomes obvious, at least to the immigration attorney guys in the room, as how to extend that EAD. It's you file to extend that EAD. The general rule of EAD is unless there's a special rule for extensions, automatic extensions while you have pending cases, they're only good for the amount of time stated on their face. Is my short answer there. Yeah. And I think, Sam, we take there's only a few questions left here, and we'll wrap it up right now.
Hmm.
Make Wesley be our last one, perhaps.
Well, there's two more, so we might as well
Okay, all
we'll
right,
just jump on all of
we
them.
got the time.
Yeah.
There we go.
What
So
type of what types are supporting documents required for I-45 Supplement J bona fide job offer? Is tax document for the company required? Should the employer send the document, or can I send it on my own? For a Supplement J, no supporting
yeah,
documentation required except signing at the appropriate box and making sure the information in the form
I'm pretty
accurate.
sure there's literal policy on this point somewhere, but I couldn't tell you where it is. I'm pretty sure I've read that they basically generally. I've seen RFEs after a supplement J, but yeah,
But you
yeah,
don't file anything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Jigar
yeah.
Khatri.
You sound excited about that, Sam.
My priority date is August 2014. How long of wait I see for this date to get current under EB2, EB3 category for employment based?
That's something where I guess my take on that, Sam, is priority dates have been that far before, right? Um, in the next couple of fiscal years, we're in what, late 2012 right now. I don't see it happening this year. I don't really see it happening the year after that. And beyond that, I don't really have a good view of it. Is the problem? But I think fundamentally, Jigar has a lot of time to wait still, because USCIS said about this time last year we have years worth of. Uh,
And if you want to talk to Cheryl, she's going to say it's all political.
it is
It's
all
all
political.
political. They may move the date. They may not move the date. Forget about the
Well,
calculations.
all it takes is a friendly administration with the desire to basically see lots of people file green cards to, well, get
Oh,
cases
yeah,
filed, at least
yeah,
dates are filed.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. All right.
yeah.
Gagan Mishra.
With EAD, can you stay without a job?
Yes.
Context: probably you think he's talking about an employment-based adjustment of status I-45 EAD, category C9, right?
H4 EAD.
Oh,
Asylum EAD.
sure,
So
sure.
EAD does not mean you have to have a job, but if you have a pending green card and an I-45 pending, you must show that you are somewhere working in the same or similar job classification for that green card to continue to be in effect. And a big gap of employment can jeopardize your I-45.
I got a category where you cannot stay without a job with an EAD. F1 students. Those guys have uh, work obligations where they fall out of status if they don't.
You're talking about CPT.
No, no. The OPT and OPT, I believe I
OPT, it's
has like a
90
90
days.
days. I think you get addition up goes up 120 days with the STEM OPT. So
Excellent.
depends
Excellent point.
upon the details. I
Yes.
guess. Yeah.
Good answer.
And we could probably think of 5 different other EADs that have similar sort of rules
Yes.
there. Yeah.
Yes.
So, um, Sam, a couple more questions have popped up.
So Sean Raj, I
Okay.
got my H1B approved effective October 1st. I'm visiting India on October 23rd for a visa Dropbox, but
Mhm.
haven't received the I-797 notice from USCIS. My lawyer says the USCIS portal confirmation is enough. My answer is, um,
What
if
about
that's what,
customs?
hmm?
What about customs?
Well, eventually when she come back,
Yeah, I guess so.
assumption.
Yeah.
But yeah, but if you don't have it in hand, you're taking a risk leaving. I mean, some of them take a long time
Yeah.
to
Raise
come.
your
Some
hand
of them,
if USCIS has ever lost something in the mail.
yeah.
For example,
I trust your lawyer is a smart guy. I would not leave the country without an I-797.
I'm inclined to agree with that. Yeah.
Um, should I wait for the I-797 notice to proceed with the portal confirmation?
Yeah. That.
Uh,
Yeah.
yes.
I would wait for that.
Yeah.
Again, the immediate thing I'd say is sometimes we never get them, and it takes months to resolve situations like that.
Yeah. Any
And
news? Next one, Brian.
yes,
Any
yes,
news
yes.
around I-131 delays?
It's
It's been 11 months since we filed our renewal at National Benefit Center.
Well, I'm looking up the processing times for an advanced parole at the National Benefit Center right now, and let's see what they're saying. They're saying the normal processing time is 11 and a half months, 11.5 months, meaning if you're in the 80% of cases, Venkat, you can hope that they will get to yours very soon because that's pretty, that's that. Fundamentally, you're at a point where there's also a tool in this check your case data or check processing times page where you can type in the date in which you filed, and they can say whether or not they are ready to accept a service inquiry on that. So I guess the news around I-131 delays is literally I have consultations with, say, family-based clients here in Columbus whose green cards take about a year to get approved, and I warn them with the processing times on a I-485 here in town being about 12 to 13 months, and a processing time on an AP being 11 and a half months, you may not get any value out of filing an AP at all. They're long. They've been long. EAD processing times came down. Advanced parole processing times have stayed high, and it's awful. That's the news. Sam,
I agree.
yes,
With that, we conclude today's session. Hopefully, we're able to answer everybody's question. Bring your question next week, and we'll answer. Feedback on these full hour Q&A. If this is something that you guys prefer, we'll do more of them. And until next Monday, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, from Sam Shihab and from Brian Burke and Shihab Burke Immigration Law Firm, thank you so much for your time in talking to us and listening to us for an hour.